Welcome to episode 100. Thank you for everybody that's been listening, watching, supporting, sending messages. If you haven't already, please subscribe, rate, like, review, especially review. I don't Apple and Spotify, they show it more every time people leave a review. So if you can take a minute now that I'm at 100 to, make sure you've subscribed to my channel or, you're following or, whatever the platform is, whether you're watching or listening, whatever it calls for. I appreciate it. But this, like all my episodes, trigger warning across the board for everything. Just know that going in. I mean, you clicked on the thumbnail, so you already know that the before and after is just as wild as the episode. So enjoy the show.
Those times that I died, all those times, Cassie, my friend, told me I had to check in every other day just to make sure I was okay. And after I started dying, like after the sixth time, she messaged me and she said, "What do you want me to do with your body?" I was like, "What? Jesus, Cassie." And she was like, "But I'm serious." When I was like walking down the street, not meth, like tweaking, but meth out of my mind, like did a lot. And I see she's got green hair. So like, it's gotta be her. And I see her and I like pop my mask up real quick because I don't want her to see me fucked up. And then she walks past and she's like, "You're really gonna not say hi?" And I was like, "Oh, hey, I didn't know it was you." Like, so then she lives like a block down from where we saw each other. And as I'm walking, I'm with my friend. I'm with my friend and I'm getting sneak attacked. Like, she's coming. I know she's coming. And we get to where she lives and she comes out of a breezeway, like her apartment's in the back of a building. And I hit that breezeway and I was like bracing for impact. And she comes up and I'm like, I knew it. And that's what I was talking about when like she used to be so pissed that I was using. Like, she wasn't nice about it. But that time, like, she's like, "Can I just hug you?" And she's like, "I don't even care if you stink." Because that was a big thing in getting high. Like, I fucking smelled. Like, I would just not get high. It would, it would take away from time to take a shower.
Oh
And
yeah, and plus sometimes it would hurt too. Like, well, actually, let's roll into it then. Welcome to the show, April.
thank you.
So you guys just heard a little story, and we'll even get into more of that later. So what is your sober date
My sober date is May 4th of last year.
of 2021?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, you're coming up on a year in May.
Right.
Okay, now the reason why I found you is the before and after, which is going to be the thumbnail of this episode, is that before and after I saw that grabbed my attention because it is an attention grabber. I'm sure you know that. You know what I mean? I'll even put it on the screen again for right now, people watching, if you didn't notice it. But what was going on May 3rd, 2021 for you?
Okay, well, I got to back it up a tiny bit before then. I was on the run from parole, and over from March 28th to April 14th, I died 9 times in those 2 weeks. And it got to the point where my mom, hi mom, my mom told me I had to go to my dad in Tennessee. And then her boyfriend, who's like, I call him my step pop, he's amazing. He said, "If you're not on that bus, I'm calling the police and turning you in because I can't watch you die." Like, it was really bad. So I was making excuses. Now Cassie's going to find out. But my plan was to go to my dad's and just stay there. He lives in Tennessee. He lives in a camper. Like, nobody's going to find me. Like, I'm on parole because I stole nipple cream. So I went to see him. He's sick. He has stage 3 lymphoma. So I went to see him and I told Cassie I just wanted to see him before I turned myself in. So just in case anything bad happened, I had my goodbyes because I hadn't seen him in 13 years. But then a bunch of shit happened there. So I called Cassie and I was like, "I can't be here anymore."
And who's Cassie?
Cassie, okay, she's my sister, but she's like sister from another mister. Like, we met in jail 8 years ago, and she's really been really good support. You know what I mean? Like, always had my back. she's the one who gave me the ultimatum when I left my dad's and came to visit her. I was supposed to be there for like 2 weeks, but I was sobered up, I was doing good, and I just called my parole to see, like, is there a way to avoid jail? And she was like, no, you've been gone too long, you've been on the run for almost 9 months, you have to go to state prison. And then I didn't know, like, my max is 18 months. I didn't know if I was going to be in for 18 months. So instead of spending the rest of the time with Cassie, I told her, I said, I'm like physically sick now because I know I have to go back to state prison. I'm not cut out for state prison. And I said, I just want to get this over with. So my friend Chrissy got me a bus ticket from Florida, where Cassie was, to Pennsylvania, and, well, Jersey, but Pennsylvania, it's like right over the bridge. So I went to I was supposed to turn myself in on the 1st, but then, like an idiot, one of my friends gave me a liquid benzo. That's why my sobriety date is the 4th. On the 2nd, he gave me a liquid benzo, and I slept until the 4th. So I was supposed to turn myself in. Cassie said, if you don't turn yourself in, I have to love you from afar. I cannot let you in my son's life. And he's like, we call him my son too. Like, I'm her Bieber baby daddy. And like, I met a boy on the bus, and it was like really super romantic. And he was like, why don't we just hop off in New York City and make a life for ourselves? That's totally up my alley. And then, but I thought, like, that's when the beginning of the thinking change occurred, because I said, I'd love to, like, I would love to just forget all this, but I can't lose Cassie and Colson. Like, I can't. So I turned myself in on the 4th, and they gave me a 6-month hit for parole violation. I didn't get any new charges. So they sent me to Muncie, which is the state prison in Pennsylvania. Well, you're from PA. And I got out November 4th of last year, and I went to TLC, which is the Transitional Living Center. And like, I hit the ground running, really. Like, I had one bump when I first got here, and then, like, I just did the damn thing. Like, I'm not conceited, but I can say that. Like, I've never had my own apartment. Within a month, I had the keys to my apartment. Well, within 2 months, I had the keys to my first ever apartment. I got a job now that's a sitting job, thank God, because I have the ugliest feet, and they're not just ugly, they don't work. So it's like, I'm floored. I cried when she gave me my key. Like, that's people might think it's like, well, you're 34, it's about time. Like, yeah, but that just goes to show, like, up until now, my mom calls me the perpetual 14-year-old, because I'm just like a 14-year-old. But like,
Yeah, we stop maturing sometimes, our mental state will stop. You know that. We all learn this,
yeah, I didn't start using drugs until I was 21. I mean, I smoked pot at 17, but I didn't start using drugs till I was 21. But my grandma made the point that I was in placement as a teenager, as a young child, and they had me on so many psych meds. She said that's when you stopped developing, when you were put on 43 pills a day. And
Shit,
yeah,
April.
I
40.
swear, yeah, and it wasn't 43 different pills. It was, some were 4 times a day, some were 3. They gave me 2 of those med cups at every med pass. And it was hard. Like, it all started for bedwetting. Like, I wet the bed until I was 15 because of trauma. And they had me on something called Tofranil, but it was a antipsychotic, and I don't respond well to them. Like, I'd sit and rock, and I'd have huge bald spots from pulling my hair out. Like, I did not respond to it well.
Yeah, some of those psych meds are fucked. You know what I mean? Like, I was engaged with somebody who is bipolar schizophrenic. So, like, I know the hell she went through, you know what I mean, trying to find the right meds that could work for somebody like her. And since it is psychological, everybody's different. Everyone's brain chemistry is going to be different. So it takes a lot for them to figure out that balance of what works for you is not going to work for me, or work for her, or work for them.
Right.
Every single person is going to be different. So it's not like when you break your arm, you go in and they're like, oh, there's the break. We know how to fix that shit. And then it's done.
Yeah.
Everyone has the same brain. You know what I mean? Like, they've seen it. But with the brain chemistries,
Every
everything's different. Everyone's different. Everyone's experienced different things. You mentioned your parents are divorced. How old were you when they?
married, but my mom and dad split up. Now, me and my sister are a year and 3 days apart. They split up when she was a newborn.
Okay.
I was raised by my mom until I was 6, and then I was raised by my grandmother until I became an adult. But that was its own, fucked up situation. She was amazing. That was my grandma. But she sometimes would drink and she'd be vicious when she drank. Like, it was bad.
Yeah.
But passed away now 2 years ago, and that sucks. And I'm kind of glad, like, I get into this funk where I say she never got the chance to see me do good. I wish she was here, but my faith tells me she does see this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? She's proud of me for once. Like,
Yeah, it's easy to go down that, you know what I mean, that fiance that I mentioned, she passed 6 years ago.
uh,
Well before I got right. You know what I mean? So I spiraled, when she died, I spiraled. It was suicide, you know what I mean? Why wouldn't I spiral?
yeah,
So, like, suicide will make somebody spiral because then they blame, especially an active addict. So yeah, I spiraled for another few years before I got myself right. So yeah, I like to think that too. It's the easier way to live with it because you can't change shit about it and you can't bring them back to see you now. So it is definitely the best way to go about it. So what made you wait until 21 to get into drugs? Like what happened to where all of a sudden, like, 21 people, and I'm from Jersey, you know what I mean? 21, I'm finding a bar, and I got into drugs at 22 because by 22, alcohol wasn't working for me anymore, right? I went so hard.
that's the one thing I don't do. I'm not. My dad drank, and shit happened. So I'm not. I might taste alcohol, like do a cheers at New Year's. I don't really drink like that. But what started it, this is gonna piss some people off, but it is what it is. So, I told you I was smoking pot. Well, I had a baby at 20 who was 1 pound 13 ounces. I'm very much still a child. She was on oxygen for the first 6 months. Well, I told you I would smoke pot. I wouldn't smoke pot around the baby. I did it one time, and she threw up like fountain onto, and she was on her back, so it splashed back on her, and I flipped her real quick, and I called my nan, and I was like, "Can you come get me? Like, I can't be stoned with this special needs baby." Well, I would continue to smoke weed when she would go with my sister. Now, I had children and youth because I was homeless when I came home from the hospital. So the social worker hooked me up with a caseworker for resources. She said it was the worst thing that ever happened. So they were doing drug tests, and they wouldn't watch me pee. So I would just buy you pee off the streets and, use it for the test. Well, the one time I couldn't use the girl that I used because she was out of town. So I asked my little sister, and I said, "Can you pee for me?" And she was like, "Why, April?" And I was like, "Because I smoked pot and I don't want to fail the test." So she went and told my caseworker that I was smoking. So the next time I came in for a test, they watched me so I couldn't fake it. So then there was like nothing really came of it, well, that I thought. And then the one week was like, "Can I watch her like Wednesday? Can I watch her? Because I want to do something." And I was like, "Yeah, fine." So Friday she calls me, or Thursday she calls me, and she's like, "Can I keep her for the weekend?" And I was like, "No, like, give my baby back." Like, you can watch her for one more day, and then I want her back. So Friday at 4:30, I'll never forget it. I was in a taxi cab coming from shopping with my best friend, and I got a call from my social worker, and she said, "Your daughter's been placed with your grandmother. If you go there, you'll be arrested." And that day I started my crack habit. Pot just didn't touch that pain. Like, I needed something bigger, and it's been all downhill from there. Like,
It's so crazy because it's weed. It's weed.
seriously,
Like, you know
now
what
it's
I mean?
baby back, please.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
because this was, what, 13 years ago, 14 years ago, so 2009ish. Yeah, so weed was not acceptable whatsoever.
2007, well, it was 2008 because it was the next year. She was born a week before Christmas.
Gotcha.
But yeah,
Okay. So yeah, I mean, to the point where like, I use it in my recovery. You know what I mean? It's part of my recovery.
Yeah, my plan is to get my weed card.
So that's why I went to Los Angeles to get sober. I was in a rehab that taught me how to use it differently. I don't even smoke it. I don't like.
I would do gummies if I did get my card.
Yeah, in PA, we're kind of limited. We don't have gummies unless you make your own. We have what's called like RSO capsules. I take little pill capsules basically. I take it with my blood pressure medicine. I take it as a medicine.
Right. My
You
thing,
know.
there's this thing that my sister introduced me to. It was for pain management at the time, Delta 8s. So they're technically CBD and you get them in the store, but they have that really like calming, and
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
it, but I don't, go ahead.
Delta.
Sorry.
It's okay. Delta 8 is good. There's some problems that I have with Delta 8.
Okay.
It's the same problems that I have with CBD, honestly. Is they're not regulated.
Okay.
They're not regulated. Nobody is regulating them. If you go into a gas station and buy Delta 8, it could just be THC and they're just lying to you. There's nobody checking this. The
Right.
FDA is not checking the labels. The cops aren't checking the labels. The Department of Health is saying that agriculture needs to do it. Agriculture is saying the Department of Health needs to do it. So everybody's pointing fingers, but since it's not federally regulated, no one's actually doing shit yet.
Right. Just point.
So that's why I don't know what I'm getting out of it. They could say 30% on there and it not mean anything because they can write whatever the fuck they want because no one's checking them. No one's
Right.
checking their work and they know that.
Right.
At least when you go into a dispensary, it's made from the people that are, or stocking up all of these dispensaries, and it's not just like at a gas station where you don't know the name on it. You know what I mean? It's actually they're making these things a certain percentages, and they are being checked by
Right.
corporates that are other places. Yeah. So there we can get into that later though. So you know not that day, but maybe right away you're just like, okay, now I'm
That
that
day.
day. That day
That
you get that phone call and you're like smoking a blunt and you're like, this blunt is not going to do it.
it is what it is. Like I'm always honest. People know me. Like I did sell my body. I did it before I was addicted to drugs because I'm sorry, it's a lucrative business. You know
The
what I
what?
mean? It's a lucrative business.
What
I mean,
is? I missed it.
selling my body. Like,
Oh, okay.
you know what I mean? It's just what I was taught to do. And um I had somebody that I saw at this one house, but I didn't remember, like it was crazy how it happened. Like I went in this building, it was an apartment building, and I'm like, I know somebody in here I saw, like I know I was in this building, let me try to get money. And or no, I wanted weed. And I went upstairs and the third door I opened was somebody's apartment. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And he was like, oh, it's okay, cool, come in. You need something? I was like, yeah, let me get a tub. And I meant a 20 bag of weed. And he came back with a rock. And I was like, this isn't what I meant. And then I was like, fuck it. I bought it. I can't return it. So might as well do it. And I did it for the first time then. And that night I robbed a Mexican and I got 600, almost $700. Then the morning, because that shit don't last. In the morning, I robbed my grandmother. I went to her house when she was gone and I found her debit card and I ran it. And I'm an asshole. I ran it for 300 and it said the balance was $18. And I'm like, hold up, this ATM does 10. So I ran it again. And it's just, I went for, like, you see that picture. I don't function as an addict. I go straight rock bottom within 24 hours. I might not look like that, right? I mean, yeah, I do. I pick when I get on dope, when I get on meth, anytime, even when I'm sober, I pick. And yeah, it sucks. Like my mom sent me that picture that I posted, the bad one. She sent it to me in jail, like as a reminder. And nobody believed it was me. You know what I mean? Like that is, uh and then when I put them both side by side, I really, like, it sunk in. I don't ever want to look like that again. You know what I mean? Like, there's just a lot of stuff has happened, and I think it was like the stars aligning, like per se, with just people that were like my best friend sold me a beat bag, knowing that I shoot up, like, you're gonna, and she's on pills, so you're gonna risk my life for $20, and I'm supposed to be your best friend. And then the guy that I dated for 8 years, I overdosed, and he just dumps my body at the ER and takes off. And like, I started realizing these people that I care about don't give a fuck. And I got to stop having them a part of my story because they're doing nothing but
I'm
keeping it.
surprised he dropped you off. A lot of, I
Yeah, yeah.
mean, I hate to even give him credit. You
The
know what I mean?
the nurses, when I came to, that was like the 5th time I died in those 2 weeks. When I came to, like, all they kept saying was like, you gotta leave that guy alone, he's a fucking piece of shit, he almost hit you with the car. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
no,
Like I said, I wasn't trying to, take his side. I'm just saying, like,
no, I
I,
know.
yeah, I'm surprised he actually dropped you off. You
Yeah,
know
even
that.
that's the biggest fear, is that one time I'll overdose and they'll just put my body in the dumpster. Like, nobody will know. You know what I mean? I fall off the face of the earth when I get high. So it's not like I'm going to be like, hey, I'm with so and so, and then they'll trace it back. I just don't talk to anybody.
9 times in 2 weeks, though.
2 weeks. Two of the times I was able to come back with double Narcan. But the other times, I think they used the paddles 3 times out of those 9. Like, it was like,
Is this because fentanyl?
yes, I can't take fentanyl. I don't know if it was fentanyl or Dilaudid, but doctors gave it to me in the hospital. Sorry. Doctors gave it to me in the hospital and had to resuscitate me. Like, my body does not handle. I think it was fentanyl. Like, they had to give me something.
It slows down your breathing so much that your heart stops. Yeah.
I can't handle it.
But but you were into crack and meth, no?
I haven't smoked crack. In next month it'll be 2 years.
What made you quit crack 2 years ago?
That one was the first one that it got the wheels rolling about, like, this is, ugh.
Yeah, because
It's
I was
like,
gonna ask you about if you had any bouts of sobriety from 21 to 34, if you had any times where you would like stop for a little.
yeah, my pregnancies. But see, this is my thing. Like, if we're being honest, I say I'm sober when I get rid of all the hard drugs, but smoke K2. Like, I've smoked K2 for the last 12 years, but when I say I'm sober, it means I'm not smoking crack, I'm not shooting dope, I just started, like, I did meth maybe 3 times before Christmas, not of this past year, but of 2020. And then I did meth for 4 months straight. And then when you do, like, funny, I see as weed, but it's really not. I just convince myself that because it looks like it and smokes like it, don't smell like it. But I don't do K2 now. Like, now it's been full sobriety since. I did do CBDs when I first got here, and I got in a lot of trouble because I did Delta 8s, but that's the only thing. Like, I don't know why my throat's doing this.
That was that like hiccup that you mentioned when you got there, was the
Yeah,
CBD. Yeah.
I did CBD.
Yeah, and like I said, that's the problem with it, is you don't know really what's in it, so it can spike off anything with the drug test. You know what I mean? Since nobody is regulating what they're putting into it, so that's the problem.
Yeah, it was bad. Like, I got in. My mom's gonna find this out now, but it is what it is. I got in a lot of trouble because I took 6 I took 6 Delta 8s, and when I was with Cassie in Florida, she had given me 4. So I'm like, fuck it, 6 is a short jump. You know what I mean? It's only 2 more, and I was fine on 4. So I took all 6, and it got so bad. Like, I don't remember anything. Um, the last thing I remember was being at a restaurant getting um French fries and a fountain soda because that's what I wanted. And like, it's its own like fucked up story. So I'm walking back to TLC. I came to in like a brick alleyway. I didn't know where I was. Like, I wasn't on the ground and woke up. It was like I just was standing there, and all of a sudden I'm like, where am I? And then like I had to think for a second, and I'm like, all right, I'm in Williamsport because I'm at TLC. And then I'm like, shit, I gotta be home at 4. What time is it? And I pull out my phone, phone's gone, money's gone, cigarettes are gone. I'm like, what the fuck? So I start walking, I run into somebody, I say, where's 3rd Street? I gotta get to 3rd Street. So they send me in the right direction. And I am literally like falling asleep walking. So the 3rd time I open my eyes, surprise, I'm surrounded by cops. And I'm like, hi, gone. And I'm like, oh, he's like, what do you want? And I was like, CBD. And he was like, no. Like, what do you want? I was like, I'm telling you, I took 6 CBD. And they took me back to the precinct. What is it? Precinct?
Yeah.
This cop place. And they did a urine test. Now, I noticed something when I took the test that we don't have to talk about because it's graphic, but it sticks out. Like, I didn't really think anything of it at first. And then, like, 5 days later, I was at the TLC and they were doing a drug test. And when I looked down, I noticed I had bruising, like, all in my thighs were all bruised. So I showed the staff and she was like, I would go get a rape kit. Like, that doesn't look good. So I went to the hospital, I got a rape kit, and they said there was evidence of trauma, which means something happened while time was unaccounted for. And like that really, even though it's like not cool to happen, that really super kicked my drive into being sober, because that was like the last avenue. Like, oh, I can do this and I'll be okay. No, I won't. I can't do crack. I can't do meth. Bad shit happens. I can't do CBD. I got to be completely sober. Like, I went to my parole officer and she was like, give me one good reason why I shouldn't send you back to Muncie. Like, dude, I was out 3 fucking days. And she said, I was like, listen, I know, first impressions are everything and I look like an asshole, but I really, really, really want to change. The thing that really like sank in, like kind of clicked, she was like, I'm going to be mad as hell if in a week I have to take you back to Muncie. And in my head, I'm like, that's not the worst that could happen in a week. Like, you think taking me to jail is the worst? Like, I'm scared if I start, I'm going to end up dead again. And that's it. Like, that was, I can't do anything.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I don't trust the gas station CBD Delta 8 little experiment that they're doing, because you don't know what the fuck is in it, because they don't have to tell you, because no one is telling them what to do.
It's the same thing with K2. Every bag is different. It's not like I had 16 seizures in one day. I think it was 16. It might have been 15. In one
Still,
day. Yeah, right.
2 is a lot.
It was horrible. Like, and it wasn't like I was detoxing and it happened in detox, because detox from K is wicked. But I was smoking a blunt, and my boyfriend at the time, like, we always used to smoke individual, and I'm sitting there and we're back to back because we lean on each other and just do our thing. And he said my hand went like this, and he was like, I have one. Like, it looked like I was trying to pass him the blunt, and then it keeps going like this, and he turns around and I'm seizing. So we went to the hospital, and the doctor said, he's like, K2 is still new. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. And he said, I was like, is this like, what are the lasting effects? And he said, you're the guinea pig. You're going to tell us. I was like, oh shit. So,
because K2 is that the bath salt thing?
okay, no, it is, but it's not. Bath salts
Okay.
like synthetic meth. K2's like synthetic weed with some opiates in it, because it's like super weed where you're like nodding out. Bath salts is synthetic too, but that's more like meth.
Okay.
Like,
Because I've
yeah,
heard them used together. You know what I mean? I've heard them like said together, if that makes sense. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like K2 bath salts. So, and I never got into either. You know what I mean? I was strictly 30s. That was my thing for 9.5 years, was just 30s every day. So, I didn't even graduate to dope
Yeah, that's
because
right.
because I loved pills so much. I could keep affording it. I could function. I was working. I was running a business. You know what I mean? Like, I was pulling the wool over everybody's eyes because I was able to function so much. The only time I lost functionality and I ever got caught, I ever got arrested, I ever got in trouble ever got called out is when I mixed Xanax. Xanax is what made me always in trouble. I always stole. I always got called out for being high. What's
That's
that?
just, you think you can steal the world on Xanax? Like, now I have nails, but I had no nails and I stole fingernail clippers. Like, for
Yeah,
what?
I want to do a super cut eventually. I'm going to go through all my episodes and I'm going to pull the clip out of every single one where my guest says I stole on Xanax, because it has happened. Like, you're episode 100. Like, we talked about this. Congrats again, you're episode 100.
Congrats
So
to you. That's
thank
awesome.
you. And I swear I've heard it 60, 70 times how I steal on Xanax. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I've heard it so many times. It blows my mind sometimes. It doesn't blow my mind anymore. It just is more
This
reassuring.
episode is sponsored by MJ's Progress Not Perfection Meeting Center Association. We are in our meeting center where we do all these meetings for mental health and addiction. I can do this podcast anywhere. I can do this at home. I can do this in a closet. I can do this in a basement. It doesn't matter. All I need is somebody else to talk to about addiction and recovery. What I can't do from anywhere is help people with their addiction and their mental health problems. So if you can help out, we do have a Venmo, we have a Cash App, we have a PayPal, we have an address you can send a check to, and all the money that gets donated goes towards rent, goes towards keeping the lights on, and goes towards keeping the internet on. So please, if you can give $5, $10, $20, it doesn't matter. Anything you can is so appreciated. And if you are a local business, if you're a national business, whatever, and you want to be a part of what we're doing, you can reach out to me and we can talk about how you can be a sponsor. But I'll let you get back to the episode.
What have you been doing differently now that, like, you went through that traumatic thing with, the CBD and everything, and you said you wanted to actually do this different now? What is
Right.
different to you? Are you going to meetings? Are you working
Yeah, I'm
steps?
doing my 90 and 90, which I hope will turn into 180, 180, 365, 365. You know what I mean? Like, I do cyber meetings every day, but Saturday and Saturday, right there at that church, I go to in-person meetings.
Okay, that's cool. And
I evaluate-
you can do more than,
Right.
since there's Zoom. Like, yeah, 90 and 90s would recommended, but there's no rule that says you can't do more if you have the time.
Right.
So
Hold on, it's gonna get loud for a second, so hold on a second. Is this us? Just 3 and 4? 3 and 4. All right. Still quarantine. All right, ready?
Yep. So, that's the thing. Like, I got really big into it early on, and I think
Hold
that
on, let me just move
okay.
because it's gonna be loud. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
All right.
I did 250 and 90.
Oh shit. Okay.
Like, there's no rules against doing more. And
Right. Sometimes I do hit a double meeting. If I'm having a hard time, I will hit. I forget what the thing was that did it, but
yeah, like, I know I had a guy here, been here a couple times. He's out in Chicago, and he'll hop on Zoom meetings in London at 2 a.m. when it's 8 a.m. there.
Right. See, this is the issue that I had when I used the NA app. I want to say it would give me like Amazonian time, like Russian time. I'm like, well, I don't know the what's that called? The exchange rate. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to make that American time. So my friend Priscilla, hi Priscilla, gave me a site where they change it to your time. So the one that I go to at 1 o'clock is really a 12 o'clock meeting in Pensacola. So you know what I mean? It works out. I go to group from 9 to 12, 3 days a week, which is going to change now because I have a job that's first shift. And, so it worked out. Like, I'd be on group from 9 to 12 and then I would get around, get shit ready. And then I'd hop on the meeting and I use that before and after picture as my profile picture. And it's just like, when people see that, they like, oh my gosh, like, it really, and I can't even say that was a bad run. Like, that was every run. I ended up looking like that. You know what I mean? Like, that was a dead giveaway when I picked my mom. Like I said, I do pick when I'm sober, but not like that.
Not nearly as much.
That thing on my forehead, everybody thinks I fell. I didn't. I was picking. And when I would do meth, I would pick so much, my fingertips would be black and blue. Like that's how much I would, when my fingertips started hurting from biting my nails so hard and I couldn't do it, I would use my knuckles. Like that's why, you know what I mean? It's not, and everyone's like, guys are like, I want to get you high and hang out. No, you don't. Like, you really don't, because
No.
like they think I'm joking. Like, I'll put it on seeing my kids again. I have stared at the carpet for over 24 hours straight. Like, I get on my hands and knees and just stare at the carpet for little pieces of whatever. And I'm not fun to get high with. I don't talk. I don't smell good. You know what I mean? Like, it's pitiful to watch. Like, there's people that, even though they're crazy drug addicts, will not have me around because it's sad. It's really sad to watch.
Yeah. But you see things going differently this time because it is a mental shift for you.
It is. Really, one of the things that really, like, my thing is, I haven't talked to my kids in over 5 years. On April 1st, it'll be 6 years. My last time I talked to them was my 10-year-old's 5th birthday. My sister cut off contact because I was the way I was doing. And like, my thing is, I've never been sober more than, besides being pregnant, no more than like 4 months from everything. And, she doesn't let me talk to him, but she sends pictures and videos. Not now, but she did send like 3 pictures. I wished her Merry Christmas. And what's good is, like, that's the other change. Wait, I'm skipping stuff. So, I would like miss them by 6 months. And then of course it's back to getting high. And, Heather, hi Heather, hi Eric, hi Danielle. my sister Heather would say, like, she called me the one time when I was in Tennessee with my dad. And she was like, April, she said, you need to get right because Mackenzie's going to be 18 soon. And I can guarantee she's going to come look for you. And like, I get it in my head. I don't know if it's my addiction or like, I am spiritual. I'm Christian, but it's more than, I'm not religious. That's what I say. I'm spiritual, not religious, but like the enemy used that, like, you're never going to see your kids again. And I can't imagine the rest of my life without my kids. So then I go into panic mode and need to numb that, because that's a pain unlike any other. And she told me, like, you have 4 years. And then it started sinking in. Like, I see what I accomplish in 4 months before I fuck up. Like, I started a business, you know what I mean? Like, I do awesome stuff. I see what I accomplish in 4 months. So then, at 6 months, nobody's really on the bandwagon yet. And then I screw up and I wreck everything. But I can only imagine, like, it didn't happen yet because I've made it this far and stuff like that. But I know, like, I have to believe my sister's not an evil person. Like, she's really trying to help my children, they're her children because she adopted them, but help break the cycle. Like, this is a 4 or 5 generation cycle. And it's really important to her to not have them exposed to the chaos. And I know that and the other thing is, I didn't jump in and try to get back talking to her. Like, so before I went to jail, when I relapsed Christmas Day. And the first week of January, the ex that I broke up with, fuck you, Jeff. He doesn't get it. I know. He's still my friend, but he's an asshole. He was treating me really fucked up. Like, he started dating the chick that we were her kids' godparents. Like, she's a trick. It's horrible. Like, it's just a fucked up story. And he was treating me real fucked up. So I had the bright idea to fake my death and went as far as writing an obituary. But what I didn't realize is when I fall off the face of the earth, my sister periodically Googles my name to see if there's an obituary, because nobody know, you know what I mean? I'm just gone. So that time when I relapsed and she looked it up, one popped up and that wrecked, like, how, like, she was super upset, and she was more upset that I named her children in it. So she was on no talking terms. And then, like, I messaged her before I went to jail and I was like, hey, and she messaged back, nope. I was like, oh, okay. So this time I'm letting third parties vouch for me. I'm not saying I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing so good. I'm letting my actions speak for me. So I've been out for 2 months now. My mom's told her I got my apartment. She told her I'm working. Like, I'm just I'm just letting my actions, like, walking the walk instead of just talking the talk.
Yeah,
Like,
because they're tired of listening to us.
right.
You know what I mean? They want to
They've
see
heard it
something.
all before. And what's sad is that they get, like, it's not like I just get high. Like, I do so good for a couple months, and, like, people really start relaxing and not being scared that every phone call is a death call, and
And
then
and
let them
plus
down.
like we go to AA and NA, but like a lot of our family they get support elsewhere.
Right.
Whether it's online with social medias, there's a ton of Facebook groups for families with addicts. There's a ton of in-person groups, Al-Anon, Nar-Anon, Al-Teen. There's so
Right.
many different programs and resources out there for families that are suffering or friends that are suffering that we don't even know because we're so caught up in our own shit that they're learning how to, I don't want to say deal with us, but learn how to live with us,
Yeah.
learn how to live without us,
Yeah.
learn how to, tell us no. So, that's the right thing that should have been done. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I don't know if she was coached or if that's just something that she was just like, no, I can't do this right now, and just consciously said no. But,
Yeah.
either way, it was definitely the right thing for her to do because it
Right.
was, something that still consciously stays with you in a good way. And, the numbing
Yeah.
of the pain, how do I say this? So like I numbed for a very long time. I drank from 11 to 31.
Okay.
And I used pills from 22 to 31. And I can honestly say is I've been through harder shit in sobriety than I have in addiction, and that's including losing a fiance. I lost a fiance and a childhood best friend while in addiction. But when you're sober and you feel things, you know, it's hard, but you don't die,
Right.
right? That's
My
something I've
thing,
learned.
I
When I got the news that like my now wife, we're both sober together and we started this meeting center together, but she has MS. She just got diagnosed with MS in August. She can barely walk. Like she can't walk unless she has a cane or a walker. It's not happening. And she's only 38. And this
oh,
is this is now what it is, and there's no cure for it.
right.
Um, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I would be shit faced over
Yep.
that news, and I would
Right.
still be to this day. But how is that going to help her walk?
My thing,
And so
yeah.
that's every time I've gotten bad news in addiction, I always remember how much worse it'll be if I add in the drink or the drug.
Right.
And
Right.
that's what keeps me sober today.
The two of the things, like, everything, it wasn't like I woke up one day and said I don't want to get high anymore. Like, it's been a couple of things. Like, my middle daughter's father died of an overdose, and I was sober. I was completely sober when that happened. And my youngest daughter, her father had committed suicide years ago. But then, like, that was one thing that got in my head. If something happens to me, two of my three children, even though they have adoptive parents that are amazing, will biologically be orphans. And wow, that's, you know what I mean? Like, I can't, that's how people get high. Like, those are childhood hurts that, that create demons like that. My grandma died. I was sober. But before, like a year before, this was one of the things that sunk in. Like, my friend Kirsten, who her grandma lived up from my grandma, like 3 houses. And her gram told her that my nan was in the hospital and it wasn't good. Like they thought she was going to die. So I'm calling every hospital, can't find her. I'm calling everybody. Nobody wants to tell me anything. Finally, I enlist the help of someone who shall not be named. And she tracked her down and told me she was in a recovery, like a assisted living thing, because they cut her open to take a tumor out of her colon. I didn't know she had colon cancer. Nobody told me. And when they cut her open, she had a stroke and she was septic. So they had her open from chest bone to pubic bone. And she was in the hospital, just laid out like that. Well, assisted living with her insides out. And I got high and I'm sitting at this crack house with people who can't stand me. Like we know we don't like each other. And it like dawned me, like, if my nan dies and comes and checks on me on the way up, is this where I want her to see me? Like, is this where I want to be with these people when I get the news your grandma died? Like,
Is that the last time you smoked crack?
yeah. Yep.
It takes what it takes. And you
Yeah.
said earlier, spiritual and religion, and I know you're still kind of new to all this. Has anyone ever kind of told you the difference?
I really not told me the difference, but the difference that I see or that I've told myself is religion is man's view on God. Spirituality is just a relationship with God, whoever you think he is. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's the way I see it.
Yeah,
I say I'm a recovering Catholic because I went to Catholic school.
me too.
The
I've said
thing
that a couple times.
right. No, there is this thing I saw on Facebook. It said Catholic kids be like, and then when you hear the "May the Force be with you," and also with you,
Yeah.
but
for
that was something.
me, so spiritual religion is for people who fear hell, and spirituality is for people who have been to hell and made it back.
I like that. My thing that really the thing that started an issue, faith is what saved me. It really is. But the issue was in Catholic school, the way they taught about God was he's up there, you're down here. He can never, you're never going to be near him because he's so amazing. I felt like when God, I saw it like Beetlejuice, that Table Town, how it's you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I felt like there was this man looking down at the earth, like, what is that black smear? Like, I thought I was so tainted from the things that happened as a child that he couldn't even see me. And that fucked me up. But then when I became Christian, and it made it easier because I can't fight my addiction on my own. I've tried, I've failed time and again. But when my faith, in the Bible and stuff, it says he's overcome the world. There's not a battle that he's lost. He can't lose. So I let him fight this and just sit back and reap the rewards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't. And that taught me he's not far away. He's in me. He can't get any closer. And he loves me. And it doesn't matter what happened to me. It doesn't matter what I did. It doesn't, you know what I mean? But it got to the point where I wasn't suicidal. But the best way I put it is every set of eyes that looked at me with contempt or disgust. It was bad when I was addicted. I just want to see love, and I wanted to die. So I knew that I just wanted to hug Jesus. And I would break down when I said it. I just want to be loved. And even if that means I have to die, then so be it.
Either way, April, you're doing awesome things. You're working on yourself. You're looking into your history. You're trying to find where things came from. You are actually going to meetings. You're doing the 90 and 90, and you're recovering out loud. You're talking about it. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? You're taking ownership of your story, because that's one of the hardest things to do once we get sober is to take ownership of our story, because when you take ownership of it, you're then accepting of it. And when you can accept it, you're not dwelling on it. And when you're not dwelling on it, you're not going to likely to get high over it. Because a lot of people, they relapse because we get sober. And then once we sober up, we're like, oh my God, I did this, and that, this, and that, this. And then you beat yourself up and then you get high over it again. So you don't have to do that cycle because it is perpetual cycle.
It is.
Is there anybody else that like that helped you along the way you want to give a shout out to before you want to wrap
Well,
up?
yeah, let me see if I know my mom and dad. Hi, mom and dad. You know, Heather, Cassie, Eric, Danielle, Chrissy. I know I'm missing people now.
But
Just everybody.
they all helped you though. They all like
Yeah,
support you.
right. Heather really, the day that I saw her, like, she used to not hug me because I'd smell. Like, she even said, like, I can't, when it goes from anger to fear, like, that's an eye-opening thing. Like, she's not mad at me for getting high. She's horrified she's gonna lose me. Like, this, I don't know if you see this, my needle tip broke off in my jugular. Like, I had to have emergency surgery. And, you know, she wasn't even mad that I was getting high. She just wanted to hug me because she was so scared something would happen. Like, you know what I mean? Priscilla, hi Priscilla. I don't know who else. The people from the Homing Home, hi guys. The people from Morningstar, hi guys. But
But that's incredible though that they can see past that. They and the fact that you could see the fear instead of, because that's important. Sometimes that's what keeps us in addiction longer is we don't see that
right.
fear. We just
Well,
see them judging us. And when
yeah.
they judge us, we hide away more and we run away more. But if you see fear, then that will question
Yeah.
things.
One more thing I have to share just because this was a real eye opener. Those times that I died, all those times, Cassie, my friend, told me I had to check in every other day just to make sure I was okay. And after I started dying, like after the sixth time, she messaged me and she said, "What do you want me to do with your body?" I was like, "What, Jesus, Cassie?" And she was like, "But I'm serious because it's going to happen. And I don't want your mom to just do what she wants. I want what you want. So tell me." And it's like, but yeah, it's not, you know what I mean? This is a legitimate situation. Like I'm heading that way. That really, like, and it fucked me up that I put people like who care like that, make them think about shit like that. Like they shouldn't have to think about that, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I
Well,
talk a lot. I talk
no,
a
you're
real
good.
lot.
I talk a lot too. That's why I do this.
Right.
So, thank you again.
Thank
And
you for having me. Congratulations on the 100 episodes.
thank you. I appreciate
Welcome.
that. But yeah, do your thing and hit your meetings. And if you need anything, let me know. I'll talk to you soon.
Definitely. All right. You have a good
All
day.
right. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye.